Hi everyone, Avery here for my very first popcorn thought rant. I debated doing this because, of course, when we put ourselves out there in a vulnerable way, it has risk associated with it. But I am a risk-driven woman. At least I am not risk adverse. And so I'm here. As you can see by my shirt, I was just recently in Outer Banks, which is in North Carolina. And it was on Friday, June 24th, 2022, when we were driving home and we're in a Tim Hortons to get a coffee and looked up at the TV screen to see that CNN News was on. And thank goodness it was CNN, because I had been exposed to Fox News all week and it was a bit much. Now, I don't judge anyone for their political stance. I really try and remove judgment from my life because I know that we are all coming from our own perspective. We all were born in a certain situation with a very small perspective and viewpoint. Our education then provided us a bit more growth. But again, depending on where we lived, we are only fed the education that our government wants us to have. As adults, I believe that it's our responsibility to be more open, to learn more about the world outside of this small sphere that we were born into. We are a tiny, tiny little nugget in the scheme of things. And so, driving home from North Carolina, being in New York, getting close to the Canadian border and feeling that homeward pull, and then seeing on the screen the petitioners, and that the bad thing had actually happened. The bad thing had actually happened. And so what's the bad thing? We've all been hearing about it this week, but the bad thing is the overturn. The Roe versus Wade overturn. I'm not going to get into all of the political stuff. There's a lot of political stuff and we all have our own stance. Now, my whole perspective on this is this: it should not be a political thing. These are health concerns. It's a health thing. It's a female body thing. It is not something that the patriarch and that the system should be deciding for us. So if we leave politics out of it somehow, now I felt like in Canada that would be a little bit easier than in America, and it is, I think it is, but it's there, and so we need to be cognizant of this. As Canadians, we like to think that we are immune to what is happening in America, but we are not. It is an invisible line. It's a thin border. The humans on the other side are just the same as us. They're just allowed to carry guns. And maybe they don't say sorry as much as we do. But they're still human beings. They're just coming from a different perspective. Okay, so driving home. I keep getting distracted. Driving home and in Tim Hortons, and we see that the bad thing has happened, that the overturn has happened, and my whole heart, my whole being just wanted to grab all of the women that were working there and take them with me, take them home with me, bring them somewhere where they have choice, where their government cannot decide potentially if they live or die. Really. Carrying a child to term and delivering a child has risk associated with it. A lot of risk. And it should be our choice if we want to put ourselves at that risk or not. Beyond family planning. And do we want to bring a child into a world where this type of thing can happen? Where precedent means nothing. What is law without precedent? All right, so my rant. My whole purpose here was to talk about attachment parenting and this overturn. Leaving my personal opinions, which I have now just blah, blah, blah all over. How are our parents, the parents of our society, supposed to raise confident, secure, safe, loved, well-attached human beings if they're forced into these situations before they are ready, mentally, emotionally, financially, or if they never wanted it in the first place? I am pro-life, meaning I am pro the woman that is alive right now. I am not anti-choice. I am pro-choice. Each of us deserves that right, because if we don't have it, our children will pay the consequence. And when we talk about our children, this is the future generation. And then they make a decision like this, which is bound to escalate that number of ACEs. The fact that currently over 60% of our society has adverse childhood experiences. That is going to increase, which many people keep saying that adoption is in fact the answer to this. Well, no, it's not. That is still trauma. That's still so much trauma that's causing a woman to carry a child to term that she either can't care for or does not want, has to give that up. It's trauma for her. It's trauma for that child to feel that the whole entire time and then to be given away. It's trauma. And why are we making choices that exponentially multiply the trauma in our society, in our children, and in our future generations? And so I know some of the things that I say may feel contradictory to people that are on the other side of the fence. And that's okay. We're all allowed to have our own opinions. I am not trying to force mine onto you. The whole purpose is that you should not be able to force yours onto me. And for all of my American sisters out there, if you ever need anyone to talk to run things through with, if you ever need help, please reach out. There are many of us, as your northern sisters, that are up here and willing to help. So make contact. All right, so that's it for me for my first popcorn thoughts and rant. Thanks for listening. I am merely a Canadian liberal hippie who really believes in humans over money. In humans over money, in humans over power. We need to fix our hearts and our humans and our society. And then we will flourish. Please remember to like and subscribe, hit the alert button if you valued what I had to say today, or if it riled you up and you'd just like to hear more. Stick around. And as a call out to all of my Canadians, please remember that we are not immune to this. Our companies, our governments, especially the conservative side, they have a strong anti-access, anti-abortion agenda. And so we need to be aware of that. We need to make sure that if this is an issue that is important to us, that we are letting that be known in our local area and with our voting power. So it's a call out. Please do what you can where you can. And again, share any comments or questions below. Please be polite. I'm not being rude to you. Don't be rude to me. And I'm wishing you so much peace, grounding, and calm in all of the chaos that is going on in our world right now. Remember to take time for yourself. Take deep breaths. And do whatever you need to get back to a calm and grounded place so that you can be your full self for what is needed. Because there's some need. Thanks again.